Hey, so today what we got going on is we are going to continue to make progress on the full-size mini truck. This is a full-size OBS Chevy that I am inspired by the mini trucks from the late 90s and early 2000s, so I'm going to continue to call it the full-size mini truck. I scored huge on Facebook Marketplace, and that thing that I picked up needs a little bit of love before we can utilize it to build out a trans tunnel and do whatever else we need to do. So let's get started.
And now, you're watching the stained yellow stankin' fluffy beard that's attached to a mall Santa channel of YouTube. Welcome to Bodie Vision.
Hey, so what is up and welcome. Thank you so much for joining me yet again on another video. So last night, well actually for the last few weeks, I've been looking on Marketplace for a press brake or a finger brake, or I think this one, since it has the fingers, it's a finger brake. I've been looking for quite a while, and if you guys do metal work or know anything about some of these tools, these could be pretty expensive. I picked this thing up for $200. I believe it was on Marketplace for like 17 minutes before I messaged the owner, and I just said to them, I cut to the chase. I said, before we discuss details, I want you to know that I will give you the full asking price of $200, but let's figure out where and when I can go get this thing. They said, how about now? I loaded up the truck. I went about 25 minutes from the house, picked this thing up. Me and 3 other guys loaded this thing up. When I got back, there was no way that I could just unload it by myself. So I utilized my gantry crane, and now it is just sitting right here. One huge question that you might have for me that has to do with huge is, this is kind of a huge piece of equipment for how small my shop is. My shop is a single car space, so I have to utilize my space wisely. I don't know exactly where I'm planning on putting this thing, but for $200, it doesn't matter. I'm going to use it. It's going to pay for itself the first time I use it. So all in all, without me talking about it too much longer, all of the fingers kind of need to be recalibrated. Everything's a little bit off. There's a bracket on the back right here. Some of them are pitched this way. Some of them are barely hanging on. So as you can see, as I went up with it, these are kind of falling off. So I need to recalibrate it. I need to get it reset up. So I'll just throw it on a time lapse here, and then we will actually use this thing in this video to make a custom trans tunnel. That's the whole reason why I bought this, and I've wanted one of these for a long time. And welcome back to Tooling with Tools that we bought on Facebook Marketplace. So I am not a professional on one of these. I'm not a professional on anything that I do, but I feel like I can look at something in a logical sense, like I feel like you could do it as well. So what I did was, there's a ridge up top for all of my fingers. Now all of the fingers need to be relatively flat across. This is an old machine. I'm not expecting them to be 0, 0, 0 tolerance, but I'd like it to get as good as I can possibly get it. So when I adjusted all of the fingers, I brought them all the way up to this ridge that I believe the fingers should sit on. That makes sense. But now we have both arms locked down, but I see a problem. We have it tight on the table. I don't know if you call it the table, but we have it tight over here. And then let me show you what we got over here. If I take this piece of paper, if I zoom in a little bit, you can see that we have a gap over here where this piece of paper is like in here easily, no resistance. And then as we make our way down, we get to the point where at about a little bit past halfway, we start to get it nice and tight on the table. So if I wanted to adjust this, which I am going to adjust it, and I do want to adjust it because if one is tight, it is going to be a tight 90 if I'm going for a 90-degree bend. If one is loose, it's going to be kind of a looser 90, and I want to be able to utilize all 4 feet of this thing. The first approach, you could just loosen all these up, knock it down to where it's flush on the table at the tightness, and I think that would be okay. But what I really think is, I think the table is a little bit out of whack. So I found some adjustments down here. This makes the table go lower. So right now you can see that's more of a gap. So if I can get the table to come even lower on its lowest, where it is nice and level and true across, I think we will be in good shape. So I'm thinking I'm going to pull down on this rod a little bit. This rod is adjustable. Once that touches, I think it's pretty good to go. Let's see. I think it is. Look at that, dude. I'm a fart smeller. I think we're pretty good. So we're really recalibrating the entire table, and you would think that they would make it where this is an option, where if it gets out of whack, you just adjust a couple things. When they built this thing, well, I don't know. Does it say made in China? Whether it does or doesn't, this is a heavy duty, you would think it's a high quality machine. So let's get this in. I like it like that. We can see that it is nice and tight all the way. I can't fit my fingernail underneath any part of it. There is a possibility that we are too tight, but I don't think so. I'm gonna lock down this lock nut, and then we are off to the races. And then I'm gonna check the other side as well, make sure the lock nut is tight, so that way we have no issues. All right, and then I also want to put our counterweight back on. This thing is super heavy over here. This helps it where the table is less heavy to lift up, kind of balances it out. The further out you have it, the easier it is gonna make it to lift, but you also don't want the table to just lift up on a whim. So it should be nice, weighted, well balanced, where it's really easy to pick it up, but it'll also stay down on its own. If it's too tall, it's just gonna lift on its own. So I kind of like it right where it is. I don't know if they make it where it's supposed to be flush off at the bottom, but I like it right here. And then we'll throw a little test piece of metal in here before we actually go for throwing some serious measurements on, building the trans tunnel. And dude, I'm just excited to get into this thing. And for $200, this is probably like a $1,200 or $1,500 piece of equipment. For $200 and having a little bit of fun messing with it to make it work, I will take that deal all day long. All right, and just like that, here's what I figured out. These are two pieces of 18 gauge sheet metal. At first, I adjusted it to the table, and then it wouldn't lock down on my piece of metal. So if you kind of come to that one, make it touch, come to this one, make it touch. Crank down all the way on that one. That should be a little bit tough to crank down all the way. So it's like it makes contact first and then it presses on it. It needs to press on it so that way it'll really get a nice bend out of it. I have one on each side. A lot of times you're kind of just going to be working on one area. Maybe it's better for the table to work in the middle because you're not constantly working on one side over the other. But as you can see here, we are going to get a nice about 90, whatever it is. I'm just messing around. I didn't even push those in the same orientation, so they're not going to be identical, the pieces from one to another, but we can still observe the nice bend that it made. And as you can see, it makes a nice little bend as we are just messing around. So when I go for my actual piece, we have it dialed in. In that case, I will draw it out. I will do some templates. I will figure some stuff out beforehand. So all in all, it took about 15 minutes. 15 minutes of calibrating and messing around with it. Now I'm getting more familiar with this machine. I know where and how to adjust the table. So it's cool to get something that's a little bit out of whack, because once you get it in whack, then you're just at a solid whack at that point. So let's go ahead and turn our attention from this to actually figuring out what we need for the truck so that way we can utilize this guy. All right, come on. And I don't know about you guys, but there's a drive shaft shop near me that I use. And whenever I use them, I always know that I need to bring a tape measure and I need to check, because I'll tell them one measurement and I have it written down and I have it drawn out as clear as I can possibly draw it. And it's always inevitable that something's a little bit off. So this one was no different. I went up there to pick it up last week. The measurement was off. And then they said, all right, no problem. We'll just fix it. And it's like, I'd rather have you not have to fix it. But here we are. So anyways, we have the drive shaft. After going back 2 trips, it is the correct length. Now, I would like to build the tunnel around the drive shaft, but I also need to keep in mind that the drive shaft absolutely needs to be removable once the tunnel is in here, because that's just how it goes with thinking logically about things and serviceability, and you could wrap your head around that. That's a given, that the drive shaft needs to be able to come out. So it's a 2-piece drive shaft. This was shortened, that's why I was at the drive shaft shop, because I have a custom short bed on here, and when I did the 4-link, I just put the axles where I wanted it based on the bed. And yeah, so let's get this thing going. Throw this on here. I don't know why I didn't grab my battery impact, because I don't like spinning wrenches, but we're here now. And it's cool too, because how easy is it to install a drive shaft from up above? And with the body drop and the Z-notch, the drive shaft is basically sitting inside of the cab compared to where it was before, which is a pretty cool thing. right, so we got that there. We also have new caps on this thing, so it's shortened, new caps, balanced, and we are pretty good. So let's go ahead and get this hooked up, and then I will start to do some measurements and figure out how exactly I want my trans tunnel to look using that new press brake. All right, so now if you can see, I can't see, the sun's right in my eyes. If you can see, we have hundreds of lines over here, but really this line is a bead line. This is a bend line. Then we have a bead line, bend line, bead line, bead line, bead line. This bead line right here, that is the center. So there's going to be 3 up top. Then there's going to be 1 in between each 45-degree bend from there. From the center, we have a total of 2 45-degree bends, so that way by the time we get to the end, we should in theory be at 90 degrees. Before we go ahead and bend these guys, we want to throw some beads in them. So that is our next step. Throw the beads in there, then we will get it over to the new brake and see how that thing does to make a custom tunnel. Really excited to start to utilize a bunch of these things that I got and utilize my small space to the best of my abilities. Alright, so now looking at it in the car, we kind of have a problem. Last week I set it up in a certain direction to just use some of the transmission tunnel that was already there. I used the top section over the transmission, and then we extended the bottom, meaning it was just a up, 90 degree over, across, 90 degree over and down. So that is what this shape is right here. If you can see, that's just a simple 90, give or take right there. But the problem is I did not do this one in a 90. We went 45, 45, straight across 45, 45, because that looks a little bit better. So what we ended up doing was that spec was what this is right here. 45, 45 flat across. Over here we have just the 90. So this end cap is going to help adapt it nice, neatly, and as clean as we can possibly make it. If you can just see right there how nice and solid that looks, so that way we are going to get adapted properly. It's doing a little bit of a weird jog that I don't absolutely love, but only thing that I'm thinking is maybe we'll just tuck this underneath or figure it out. I'm not well versed enough to figure out how to, because in theory you'd want it to be this to be 90, but we're kind of tilted. So I don't know what I did wrong exactly, but it'll just take me messing around with it and playing with it. And for me to complain about such a little thing is kind of like a non-issue. So you can see I'm going to cap this off. I'll maybe make a mark and trim this first. Maybe I'll just cut it after the fact. I don't normally love cutting sheet metal with an angle grinder, but it is what it is. As you can see, the fit and finish is capped off really nicely right here. So let's go ahead and get this welded on, and then we will figure out how to put this in the car once and for all. There's also adaptation that's going to be needed to be made in the rear as well, but I'm happy with this. You can see this cap right here is a beautiful 90 that matches the exact specs of the car. Alright, so at this point we got it in the car. I don't love it, but I don't hate it. I mean, I kind of achieved the goal that I was going for. I figured as I was doing the origami with the metal, something would have got off. What ended up getting off was that one angle kind of shot the tunnel a little bit higher. With the tunnel sitting a little bit higher, I did not make the side legs quite long enough. Let me just show you. So it's just sitting in there for now. You can see that bottom runs nicely and that'll be out of there, so all of that'll get cleaned up. But now we have a gap in right in that range. So what I'm thinking is I don't like doing like a little extender scab band-aid thing, but that's what I think I'm going to have to do. I will mark it everywhere that it needs to be extended. I will put the new drive shaft tunnel on the welding table. I will add a strap, weld it on the inside so that way it is just long enough. And keep in mind, this will all be covered with seam sealer anyways, so I could just go crazy. But all in all, I want to get better at doing this. I want it to look really good before the seam sealer is. I want it to be solid, and I want to take pride in how good it looks. So I don't love doing a scab, doing a band-aid, but overall, let's not get down about it. Let's figure out what needs to happen, address that thing, make the changes, throw it back in, then it'll be all good. So let's figure out the best approach to make something that I don't love work. Because we could redo the whole thing, but I'm not doing that. Live and learn for next time. The next one will be a little bit better than this one. But overall, it's looking good. So let's see, we definitely need it to be longer, starting about here. And then that needs to run out all the way to the end. So we'll just make a little mark for here. I want to figure out my longest distance that it needs to become longer. So let's do this. The longest distance is right there. I want it to tuck under just a little bit. So if I put a 2-inch piece on everything from there to there, I'll be able to pull that this way, weld that up. I will weld the other one from the inside. Let me see if the other side is looking the same. Let's see here. Ooh, this side is different. So this is kind of needed anyways. And I forgot to bring my marker with me. Where the, oh, there it is. So this side needed to be addressed anyway, so let's make a mark right here, then all the way to the front. Is that going to be 2 inches as well? 2 inches will be okay for that. All right, so we got a game plan. I'm gonna make some 2-inch straps, weld it on the inside, put this thing back in, and ultimately I think it's gonna work just fine. It didn't work how I initially wanted it, but that's okay. We're building over here. so now that the tunnel is in there nice and solid, we have a little bit of an issue back here. See, when I cut this out, I just cut it out for everything to be out of the way. I don't necessarily like to fine trim it 10, 15, 20 times. I'd rather just overcut it and then fill it back in the end. So if you can see, we have a little bit of excess. When the cab comes back off of the frame, all of that will be trimmed, but now we have this area that is an issue. So I went ahead and I made these pieces. I made it as one before, but then every time you bend it and fold it, it actually gets a little bit shorter. So you can see this is meant to replicate how the cab looks already. And with me making it as two pieces, I overshot it, so now I have an overhang in the middle that I can trim and get rid of when I am ready to do so. So you can see right there, as well as right there. I will go ahead and place this in there. I might throw a tack on it and then draw exactly where it needs to be and then make a cut, because the idea is in the end we want this to be laying right next to the piece, not overlapping it, just to make it as nice as possible. Even though this is all going to be covered by the bed in the end, I still want to make it where it's halfway decent. And then once we're all good, I can go ahead and cut and trim this excess. Then we will weld that out, or maybe I'll weld it and then cut it. The only thing to do now is to get the welder fired up and keep rolling. Alright, so we got the back knocked out and finalized. What I'm thinking here is I have this 1/8 inch strap. Okay, hold on, chill out for a second. We have this 1/8 inch strap, 1 1/4 wide. I want to run this all the way across. There is a brace underneath that's spot welded to this side, so if I put this here and then run it all the way across, bringing it across the new tunnel, I figure that is adding that strength back across. And one thing that it's not going to do is it's not going to make it weaker. So I don't know if this does a whole lot, but it's just trying to re-brace it a little bit, nothing too crazy invasive, and put some structure back in here that we may have lost by doing the body drop or by adding the custom trans tunnel, because this, I mean, it's all nice and rigid now. It was a little floppy at first, but this is only going to make it that much stronger. So as I am working from the outside towards the inside, naturally the metal kind of stretched a little bit. With the metal stretching, it kind of bows down, so we need to get fancy and I need to pull this up. There's going to be a little bit of a Florida man engineering over here. So what I did was I welded a stud right there, just like a typical stud from a stud welder. I have a ratchet strap. Let's see how we can arrange this. We are going out the custom sunroof. There is a Chevy Tahoe sunroof already welded into this guy here. So we're gonna make this work either way. Don't worry about it. Let's go here. And then we'll just hook this back onto itself. That'll hold. And then we will get the ratchet strap going. We could get underneath, but the drive shaft is in the way and I can't hold it from underneath at the same time that I'm welding it from up above. So what this beautiful Florida marvel of engineering is going to do is going to allow me to hold it as well as weld it at the same time. Put that there. There's going to be a little bit of dancing to make this happen. Stud welder on. Lock it in. That's locked in. Then what I'm going to do right here, hook this guy. This is all about figuring stuff out. Having a small space, don't care, do what you gotta do. Now let's crank on this guy right here. Woo-wee. Hopefully that stud holds. Oh! We were so close. We were so close. We got a good system going. I just need to re-weld that stud. Man. I should have just stopped while I was ahead but I got a little bit too confident. I also don't want to weld these out too much because I want to be able to get them to cut them off, but I think we might need to go a little bit harder. And maybe I'll go more towards the center this time. All right, here we go. Watch your hands. All right, that was a little hotter. And then we'll also do this on the other side. I should have quit while I was ahead. Lock that on the stud like that. Get this guy going. I wonder if I can do it like, nah. We'll figure it out. A couple cranks. I think that's pretty good. Let's weld this out. The amount of distance that I've welded on this truck is insane. Lots and lots and lots of welds. HTP 220 Pro Pulse welder. That came in clutch for me, I'll tell you. I should have put my gloves on, but we're kind of doing some funny stuff here. Alright, laid down 2 fat beads. That's not going to go anywhere. Let's release this now here. Alright. And then I'll probably do the same thing on the back side here. Alright, so let's get that back side knocked out. Then we'll figure out where else we want to go. I want to work towards today. I want to work towards getting the front end on this car. I'm tired of welding, tired of messing around with this. I'll maybe run another strap in the front if I feel like it's necessary. I'm still debating on that. But what I want to go into next with you is working on the front end after I get this welded out. Come on. Alright, so with no surprise, it is absolutely not even close. Well, it's actually kind of close. It is just sitting on top of the tire right there. So we need to cut out all of this inside skeletal structure. You can see right in there, there's some bolts that are about 1.5 inches off. So the fender actually isn't sitting all the way underneath the body of this car. Now I wanted to address something. A few videos back when I did the Z-notch in the front, a lot of you wise guys were telling me that I need to drop the front of the frame to match the Z-notch. And at first thought, you're correct. But at second thought, if you were working with me, we would be doing it twice. So now let me break this down. What are the fenders attached to? They are attached to the body. Wherever the doors are, the fenders are going to continue. So if we Z-notch it, that's going to make the frame come up, so then the frame is going to have to come down where the front end mounts to match the Z-notch. But if you body drop it, you have to bring it down even more. So I couldn't do anything with the front of the frame until the Z-notch was done, plus the body drop was done. Now that the body drop is done and we have everything welded out, I can actually worry about fitting the front end. I don't like doing stuff twice. I know some of you guys probably do stuff twice because a bunch of us have done things twice. So for me, the next step is I want to cut out this skeletal structure. I'm just going to do some rough cuts at first just so I can kind of get it down. Then once we can actually mount it on there, I will refine the line, finalize it, figure out exactly where it needs to be once we want to air this thing out. We need to get it to fit before we can air it out. Once we air it out, we can keep trimming until it's all the way up until I believe the tire is gonna sit right there, which is a really crazy, really cool look. And then we're gonna build tubs, do the whole engine bay, do that. Don't worry about it. One step at a time. looking around, this thing is absolutely awesome. Now I have a question for you. If I open up a can of worms, are you gonna ride with me? Are we gonna do this together? Are you gonna be with me as we open up that can? Because a can is what we are about to open. Now, a few things. I cut off the front of the frame, so I need to put this piece over here. I labeled them driver's side. So this guy right here, where I lopped it off the frame, this needs to be relocated lower, and it needs to be lower by the amount that the Z-notch was, as we talked about a little bit ago, plus the amount that the body drop was. So the entire difference is how much lower this needs to be. So the Z-notch was able to just kind of, there was a frame there, it was able to step down, and then a Z was made. So a Z-notch, this guy's gonna have to go even lower. So we need to figure that out. Right now, luckily, the front end is located by the fenders. The fenders aren't strong enough to hang the entire front end of the car as it is, but just for right now, for mock-up purposes, we can utilize the fenders to say where the front needs to be. But we have a problem here. As I try to air out, now the alignment's a little bit off, that tire looks to be going out a little bit. I kind of pulled them in, and then when I pushed the car in, the alignment was so off because it was just towed in way too far. So if we get it to potentially clear, look, watch. Listen, it's just these fenders and this wheel setup are not going to work. If we tow it in, I'm not able to push the car. Everything is just way off. Now the can of worms that we could potentially open, that I see that we will have to open, is if I cut this fender right here, run along the body line, and we just bring it out just a little bit. We're not talking something egregiously ugly like the Mustang. I'm talking about doing the bare minimum to make it still look good and make it work with these wheels at this spec. Now these wheels, I got them for $2 grand. They're probably $5 to $6 grand. So I don't want to get a different wheel. I could resurface the inside or redo the inside, take some material out to change the offset. That would pull it in a little bit, but every inch that we pull it in is an inch closer to somewhere else. So I think what I need to do is see what's going on with the bed before I make a decision on the front. If the bed has to be widened, which I'm thinking it might, and the front has to be widened, then we're kind of going to just have to do both. But the can of worms is, right now, the front end is being held together by the fenders. If we cut the fenders, we lose that. So I need to finish the frame section before we can cut the fenders. So all in all, what I'm saying with the can of worms, we have to be strategic about it. I need to figure out the front before we cut the fenders. Once the front is cut and then this is located, we have something to grab onto, then I could cut the fenders, but I don't want to cut the fenders until we realize what's going on with the rear. What I'm thinking is right now, I want to pull the car out. I'll probably pull off this front piece. That way I can hold the fenders out. Then I can air it out, then push the fenders back on, and then put this piece back on. Because if it's pushing against the wheels, that's not a huge deal. I just don't want it to be scratching the wheels as they go down, which it's kind of already doing, but it'll be all right. It's just rubbing on the tire. It's not rubbing on the actual face of the wheel itself. Besides all of that, besides that can of worms, besides all of the problems that I'm discussing with you, let's look at the win for this thing, man. Look how sick, how crazy, how nice this looks. I mean, this motor, this intake manifold, it all just looks so good, so cool for like a custom truck. When you see this thing, you're gonna be like, why is this thing so high up in the engine bay? But I like it. I think it looks good. It is going to be poking out of the hood. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Maybe we can build in a custom cowl, or maybe we'll just have it hanging out the hood. The whole entire truck is gonna be wild as it is, so maybe blowing out the hood is just the way to go. So let's go ahead. I'm gonna pull the front end. I want to get the car out, that way we can really stand back. Then I want to air it out and then possibly put the front end back on, so that way we can kind of see what we're working towards. We need a little bit of motivation, right? This right here, this view, just lets you know that we are building something good, dude. How awesome, how sick is this truck, man? This gets me excited. Super raw, no bumper, not paint matched, nothing going on, but we could just really see, you could really see the bigger picture and what we're going for. Now with the wheels, they are just so wide, they are so off that I was able to get the core support on right here, but over here we are gapped out. There's just no way I can get it. Right now, the alignment might be off a little bit, which is making it harder for us. If they're both turning out or towed out just a little bit, it's gonna make it even worse. No matter what, I know before I had it towed in too far, I might have overcorrected a little bit. Even with it towed in more than the car would comfortably drive, and the more it's towed in, the better the front end is fitting, actually. So even with it towed in all the way, we still weren't able to get the car down comfortably. So no matter what, it's inevitable. We are going to have to do something in the front. I was thinking about doing like aftermarket fiberglass Baja fenders, because that's a higher radius as well as a wider wheel, or you could put a lower offset with the Baja fenders, and a higher radius would be nice. Yeah, you would tuck a little bit less once it's aired out, but if you're on the floor, I mean, no one's really complaining about tucking a little bit less. And also when we air up, we kind of need to get to where we can turn the wheel, because right now, even at max height, you're gonna have little to no steering. Now for a truck like this, as crazy as it is, I'm not expecting to go full lock, but we need to at least be able to reasonably drive around without having to do 100-point awesome power style turns. I have 2 U-turns near my house that I always have to do. There's no way that I'm gonna do it where I can't at least, at bare minimum, do a 3-point turn. But dude, really good progress. This thing is really coming together. Overall, we have a few different directions that we can take. Number one, I was thinking about pulling the cab off because the firewall has all type of metalwork and that needs to be painted. So I thought if I took the cab off, we can get underneath, we can trim all of the excess that we did from the trans tunnel. We can do all of that with the cab off, but I'm not exactly excited about pulling the cab. It might be easier to just rip the motor out of this thing and leave the cab where it is. But no matter what, one thing that's inevitable is the cab needs to stay where it is in order to work the bed. The bed is a custom short bed. The bed has never been mounted on this frame because this frame came off of another truck. So we need to leave the cab where it is, so that way I can put the bed on, so that way the tires are centered or wherever I measured them for, and then the relationship between the bed and the cab is at least within factory spec, maybe a little bit tighter, because we are going for a custom look. Wherever it lands and whatever it does, we need the cab to be on here to figure that out. So overall, we are in really good shape, and I do not plan on slowing down. So really quickly, I wanted to hit you with something. In the description down below, there is going to be a link to the Boatyvision second channel. That channel is going to be dedicated to doing live videos plus Boatyvision extras. The reason why I'm doing that is because if I don't satisfy the algorithm on my main channel by doing a live that isn't going to receive the same number of views that my normal video would, I feel like my channel is being penalized. So it seems like the best move is to create a second channel. That way I can utilize and do lives and have fun with them and not worry about the almighty algorithm. So go ahead and check out the description down below for that. There is probably nothing there now, but go check it out, get locked and loaded, hit subscribe so that way you're ready to hang out once we go live. I'd love to start integrating that a lot more often, and the reason why the second channel makes sense again is because I don't want to penalize my main channel. I just want to have fun with it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Let me know what you think of everything thus far. Let me know what you're looking forward to. Let me know your thoughts, and I'll see you on the next one. So like this video, subscribe if you are not subscribed. I'll catch you on that next one. I'm out.